Do you have a hard time getting to that second date? Well, good. I'm glad you're here because we're going to talk about 5 bad habits to avoid so that you can land that second date. So let's talk about the tips that you need to avoid so that you can connect and get to that second date. Tip number 1 is do not talk too much, right? I know you're excited, you're nervous, and all these things, these emotions are coming through, but when you're talking too much, it leaves your date wondering why they're even there, right? The whole purpose is to connect and get to know each other. And I know sometimes when singles get excited and they want to impress the person across from them, they'll overshare and over market themselves, but it actually makes you look insecure. It makes you look like you have to overcompensate to impress the person across from you. So truly the key here is to make the person feel like they are the most important person in the room. And how do you do that? By listening more than you speak. Ask more questions. People love talking about themselves too. So pay attention to their interests, their values, their beliefs. Get to really know who they are beneath the surface that you see. Then when you hear something that you have in common, highlight some of those areas. That's exactly what creates the bond that keeps the interest going. Tip number 2, do not be a chameleon. Authenticity is key. I know that you might want to win this person over, and many singles do this where they change themselves and morph into something that they're not so that they can impress the person. For example, if the person says they love golf or tennis, all of a sudden you love golf and tennis. This is an exhausting way to date. You want to be as real and honest about yourself. Why? Because it helps act as a filter for people that belong in your life and people that don't, right? So the more genuine you are, the more you become a beacon to the person that is right for you, rather than having to chase and change yourself to fit in somebody else's world. Number 3 is don't go too fast too soon. This is the first date. Don't talk about what are we going to do on Thanksgiving. Don't talk about, oh my gosh, I can see myself marrying you already. All that information is too much and it could overwhelm your date where you are just jumping into a relationship to fill a void rather than really choosing a partner that matches your values, that makes you a better person and you make them a better person. So if you're really looking for a long-term relationship, stop filling the void with short-term ones. Take your time, slow down, get to know this person's core values. See if they align with yours. Tip number 4 is to slow your sharing roll. Listen, you've overshared when the person across from you is doing the deer in headlights look. We've learned in modern day that vulnerability creates connection, and this is so true. But it's important that you deliver the vulnerability in doses, right? So it allows the person to actually process and understand and connect with you. But if you're oversharing and you're just puking out all this information, it's going to overwhelm your date. And the whole point here is for you to slow down and build deep intimacy with this person. So share a little about yourself and then ask a question and ask them to share some vulnerability. And if they are judgmental, then they're telling you that they're not a good fit for you. But if they embrace you and they're accepting and they start sharing themselves, that's when you created a deep connection that will land you that second date. Tip number 5 is don't be so oblivious to the cues. Be present, right? I know first dates are really nerve-wracking, and what will happen is we're all in our heads and we're not in our heart. And our heart is where we pay attention to the person across from us. We connect with that person and look at the social cues, like if they're flirting with us and leaning forward, that's a sign of interest. If we're saying something to them and they're crossing their arms and they're leaning back, that's a sign of disinterest, right? Reading those social cues will help you make the next move, and hopefully that move will land you to that next date. So I want to hear from you. What are certain things that turn you off on a date, or things that you're struggling with that you'd like to work on? Leave your question or comments below. I do respond. And again, if you need more help, go to amiethedatingcoach.com and send me a question there as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. And remember, it's your time to take charge of your love life.